Hey, what's going on, people? It's your boy Sam, riding solo dolo today, as I got to see a double feature, a double horror feature, which you guys know is really not my genre, not up my alley. But I saw Until Dawn and Clown in a Cornfield with a buddy of mine, who, side note, I really need to get him on the show. Like, I watch a lot of movies with this guy. Literally, only Joey's the one I watch more movies with in the future. Anyway, saw this double feature and I want to talk about it because one of these was actually surprisingly good and the other one was not. So yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to think of a word outside of bad, but I can't. So yeah, the other one was just bad. All right, guys. So before I forget, before we get into this, please go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button if you like what we do here and you want to see more. I always forget to mention that, so I'm trying to say it at the top of the video now. All right, so as a double review, I'm not really going to do our sours and our sweets like I normally split them up. I'm just gonna try to get through both of these and tell you what I think about each movie. Until Dawn was the one that's really not great. We're gonna start with that. So the plot here: this group of 5 or 6 friends whose names I don't remember are on this road trip to find one of their sisters. It's like the vaguest reason you can have. And upon this road trip, they happen upon a house. Upon entering the house, they realize that they can't leave and that something strange happens when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down, just manifestations come up in the house and kill them. But the twist in this movie is that when they all die, they all go back to the beginning of the night. Time resets and they live the night over again. Yeah, so this is based on a video game. I saw the Sony PlayStation logo pop up during like the title credits or whatever, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is not a good adaptation. I have never played the game, whether it is closely related to the game or not. I can just tell you the movie kind of sucks, and that's a shame because for the first, let's say, I don't know, 30-35 minutes of the movie, I was adequately enjoying it. It wasn't blowing my mind, but I was into it. So yeah, even though I hated the characters in the movie, the actual stuff that was happening, I thought was pretty interesting, and I liked the way they handled the resetting of time. I'm a sucker for movies like this, like Happy Death Day or Groundhog's Day, stuff like that. I love these types of movies. But here's the thing: when they die and come back, obviously they remember what happened the night before, right? But there are two things this movie does differently from other movies. First, the wounds they have, they keep them. So, like, if someone was stabbed in the eye, when they come back, like their eye hurts, just like a bruise there. Or, if they were stabbed in the chest, like you see a bruise on their chest. So, this isn't something that can go on forever and ever. There is a limited amount of time before they ultimately just die forever, which I thought was cool. But the second thing is, the night, even though it resets, doesn't go exactly as it happened the night before. So, for example, if on the first night, let's say 8 p.m. strikes and the lights go out, on the second night, 8 p.m. strikes, the lights might not go out and something else happens. So I thought that was cool because it keeps both the characters and the audience on their feet because you're like, oh, wow, okay, I thought maybe we could form a plan here, but this movie's throwing a wrench into that. So yeah, that's what I dug. But then this movie, man, it just made some odd decisions, seriously. So the characters aren't great, which wasn't the biggest deal for me because it's a horror movie. You're gonna have your stereotypical characters where they're not actual characters, they're character types. But even with that, dear God, these people are so, I don't even want to use the word unlikable. They're just so bland, you really do not care about them. So whatever relationships they have with each other, whatever relationships the main one has with the sister they're trying to find, this new boyfriend, his dynamic with the rest of the group because he's the newcomer, all of that, you're just like, bruh, like movie, we don't care. You're not fleshing this out. Like, I don't care about any conversation between any of these people. Additionally, the actual horror element of this movie, like I said, this house manifests stuff. It's not ever really scary and it's few and far between. Like the way they die, it's so non-creative, I guess is the word I'm thinking of. Again, just bland is the word that comes to mind. Like I honestly can't even tell you any of the ways they die, because it might have just been, oh, I got my throat slashed. I mean, I'm making light of throat slashings and stuff like that, but I mean, come on, it's a horror movie. You expect to memorize the horror part of it, and you don't. And then the actual plot seems to like pick up interesting plot lines and then drop them. Like there's this message where it's like, hey, either you survive. Oh, I should have mentioned this. The title of the movie is called Until Dawn, because if they survive until dawn, then they can escape the house. I totally forgot to mention that. But anyway, like there's this line in the movie that says something like, survive the night or become part of it, which makes you think, oh man, if we don't survive the night, we're going to become, basically one of these things that this house manifests, right? At first, I thought that was cool because, one of the characters actually does seem to be transformed, but then they're not anymore. And then that whole thing, it's just, you start to realize, okay, that was just a thing you threw in here and you're really not going to fully develop this. And also, the acting was really bad at some points. Now, all horror movies have like, those cheesy one-liners that they say, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual delivery from these actors. It was just like off, almost like I'm like, yo, why didn't the director do another take on this? So yeah, I'm not gonna keep harping about this. This movie is like it's literally the definition of forgettable. So I don't recommend paying. I don't even know if it's going to be in theaters by the time you see this. I don't recommend paying to see it. I don't even recommend streaming it. It's not something you will talk about after you see it. And while you're watching it, you might be like, yo, what and why am I still watching this? When is this gonna be over? Yeah, totally bland, not a very fun horror movie at all. On the other hand, Clown in the Cornfield was a huge surprise to me. So based on that title alone, you might think it's just going to be some, slasher film with some B-list actors and that's it, right? And that's what I was going to expecting. When the movie first starts and, they're in the cornfield and you see like this guy in this killer clown mask murder this first person, you're like, okay, I know what kind of movie this is. But here's the thing the movie does after that, right? We see a kill at the beginning. For the next 45 minutes, the movie does something incredible, y'all. It develops the main characters in a horror movie. It's crazy, right? So we have our main character. Her name is Quinn. She's just moved to this town with her father, who's a doctor, and we get to learn so much about them, like why they're there. They're carrying trauma, like most protagonists. Wow, I could not remember that word. Like most protagonists in a horror movie tend to, there's some sort of trauma or loss they're carrying that's pushing them through the movie that they'll ultimately resolve by the end. But this one, they actually spend time making you really care. Like Quinn and her father lost her mother to an overdose, and you can see that they're both really hurting and trying to get a fresh start here. Additionally, the friend group, the one that ends up being in trouble, it's about 6 of them, I believe. Uh, it is 6 of them because I actually remember all of their names. Again, they were developed like they're shown as these delinquents, but then you find out they're just teenagers, right? And they're not actually bad people. They can be they do clownish behavior, but there are no jerks in the group where you're like, wow, I can't wait for this douche to die. Like it's not a Breakfast Club type situation when you have the jock and the prom queen and the unpopular one and the super popular one. And no, it's not like that. They're just regular kids who like to drink and party and stuff like that. So I really dug that. And I really dug that each of them has like an actual character, or each of them is an actual character and not a character trait. It got to the point where, these characters are the fodder for this killer clown in this movie, right? The clown in the cornfield. And yeah, I was like, yo, I don't know which of you is going to die, but I don't really want any of you to die. Like, it didn't feel like any of them really deserved it. And this movie, again, since I spent time getting to know them, I was rooting for them, man. So a thing for me, this movie's tones were a little off. So like I said, it starts off with just some ridiculous kill in the cornfield. And you're like, all right, this is the slasher film that I expect. But because of all the time and heart and devotion put into developing these characters, the tone actually shifts to more of like a drama type movie, right? So when it goes back to being a slasher film, it kind of threw me for a loop for a little bit. I'm like, well, okay, wait. This is the movie I'm here to see. Now, my brain did do the switch, right? But then when it got back to being this horror, this slasher, it seemed to go like I guess a little too far in that direction. Just in my opinion. That's not like it's a deal breaker or anything. But again, you go from this like seemingly character driven film to just it gets really silly, like Scream level silly. Like, you have a killer on your tail and you're running away and he trips over a table as if he can't run around the table. Like stuff like that. It's like what the heck? You'll be right in front of him and he'll take a giant swing with whatever weapon and miss, and then he'll just be paused right there while you run past him. And it's just like, I mean, what are we doing here, guys? Like, it's fine being that type of movie, again, being like the ghost face killer tripping over furniture and tripping on carpets and always missing with your knife or whatever. But I think that the fact that the switch again, this movie had such a character driven narrative at one point, it kind of messed with me. Now, I will say, kills later in the film are pretty awesome. Pretty darn cool. One of them in particular really just came out of nowhere and caught me, and I was like, whoa, okay. So kudos. Kudos. Now, of course, in a horror movie, it has, there are going to be your cheesy one liners, your characters making questionable decisions. And then the ultimate climax when you figure out why the clown is doing what it's doing. It was pretty stupid. And then the father daughter dynamic that I really thought I loved in the beginning, it kind of takes a weird turn in the end, and you're like, yeah, a father wouldn't do this. But all of those again are just nitpicks that I would put on a different type of movie, and not this one, because I can't accept, even though it did something I wasn't expecting. I can't accept that this is a slasher film at its core. And you know what? I will think of the character development I got as a bonus. So overall, I really dug this one. This one's going to be streaming on Shudder, but if you are finding yourself at a theater and it's playing, I would recommend checking this one out, man. Yeah. So Until Dawn, I'd give that about a 2 out of 5. Uh, Clown on the Cornfield, 3.5 out of 5. Let me know when you see both. Let me know what you think about both right down there in the comments. I appreciate you guys listening to my rant as always. And until next time, I'm out.